Part January 15th. Hey Reddit. Throwaway account because I don't want this connected to my main. Honestly, I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I've been lurking on here for years, reading posts and thinking, man, that sucks, glad it's not me. Well, surprise. It's me now. I guess I'll just start from the beginning, or at least from the part where things started feeling off. My wife and I have been together for 9 years, married for 6. Her name's Rachel, for the sake of the story. We met through mutual friends at a housewarming party, hit it off fast. I'm not gonna lie, she was magnetic. Beautiful, funny, confident. She had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room, especially me. I was hooked. We moved in together after a year, married 2 years later. She was working in marketing, I was in IT. Our lives synced up. We had goals, vacations, silly traditions. Hell, we even had a shared notes app where we'd list future baby names. Cringy in hindsight, but at the time it felt right. Fast forward to this past year, and something started changing. I couldn't pinpoint what at first. Just little things. You know how people say they feel when something's wrong? That gut instinct? Mine started pinging around like a fire alarm. She started spending more time at work, late into the evenings. I'd get texts like, sorry babe, campaign emergency, I'll be late, disappointed face. At first I believed her. I mean, I knew how chaotic her job could get. There were product launches, clients breathing down her neck, deadlines. It made sense. But then it kept happening. 3 times a week she'd come home around 10:30, sometimes even later. Always tired, always stressed. No energy for dinner, sex, or even conversation. She'd just drop her bag, shower, and go to bed. Then came the guarded phone. That was when my radar started going off full tilt. We used to be super open. Phones were never locked, no secrets. If she left hers on the counter, it was no big deal. I could grab it to check a recipe or play music. But now? It had a passcode. And she'd practically snatch it away if I so much as glanced at it. One night, she left it charging in the living room. I walked by and saw a notification pop up, just a name, Eli, with a red heart emoji. It was only visible for a second before it disappeared. I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid, jealous husband. So I swallowed it. Told myself it could be a friend. Or even a coworker she's close with. Maybe it's harmless. But deep down? I knew. Then the lies started getting sloppy. I remember one night, she said she was meeting Jenna from work for drinks. I said cool, have fun. About an hour later, I bumped into Jenna at the damn grocery store. She looked confused when I said, hey, hope you and Rachel are having a good night. Jenna was like, huh? I haven't seen Rachel in weeks. That was the moment something inside me cracked. I didn't say anything right then. Just smiled, said, oh, must have been a miscommunication. I went home, heart in my throat, and waited. Rachel came home 2 hours later, lipstick smudged, smelling like a bar and a man's cologne, not mine. I asked her casually, how's Jenna? She paused, blinked, and said she's good. We were catching up on so much stuff. And just like that, I knew she was lying straight to my face. That's where I'll end part 1. In part 2, I'll talk about how I went from suspicious to absolutely certain. Spoiler, it involves a burner phone, a hotel room, and me almost getting into a fistfight with a stranger. Stay tuned. Or don't. Honestly, this is more for me than anyone else. Part February 15th, the day I knew I wasn't crazy. So after the Jenna incident, I couldn't ignore the red flags anymore. I'd been gaslit before in past relationships, told I was imagining things, overthinking, and I swore I'd never let that happen again. But here I was, in my own home, with my own wife, feeling like a paranoid lunatic because something wasn't adding up. After that night, I started paying more attention. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I played it cool. And I started collecting receipts. Not literally yet, but mentally. Every time she told me where she was going, I made a note of it. She started saying vague things like, I'm going out with the girls, or just grabbing a drink with coworkers. Never names. Never details. One night she said she was going to a gallery opening with her boss. Her boss is gay and married, so I didn't question it. But then I checked her location on Find My iPhone. Yeah, I know, sneaky. But trust me, at this point I needed answers. She was nowhere near any art gallery. She was in a residential neighborhood on the other side of town. I zoomed in and saw she was parked outside a house for almost 3 hours. I didn't call. I didn't even text. I just watched her little dot sit there, motionless. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. When she came home later that night, I asked her how the gallery was. She said, and I quote, oh babe, it was amazing. So much local talent. You would have loved it. And that was the moment I realized something about Rachel. She was a world-class liar. The kind that looks you in the eye and smiles while gutting you. That night, I decided to go full detective. I made a burner account on Instagram and started following some of her coworkers. I looked through tagged photos, stories, anything I could find. And guess what? One of her coworkers had posted a pic from a rooftop bar. Rachel was in the background, sitting across from a guy I didn't recognize, laughing, drink in hand, touching his arm. She told me she was at a client meeting that night. I remember because I made dinner and waited for her. I even saved her plate in the fridge. The worst part? I wanted to believe there was a rational explanation. I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. But then I saw something I couldn't ignore. I was cleaning out the trunk of her car because we were going to visit my parents the next weekend. I found an old jacket of hers stuffed under the seat. Inside the pocket? A receipt. 2 glasses of wine. 1 entree. 1 dessert. A hotel room charge for 2 people. Dated for one of those nights she said she was working late. That was it. The confirmation I didn't want. I felt sick. Like physically ill. I sat down on the floor of our garage and stared at that slip of paper for what felt like hours. I kept reading the name of the hotel over and over again like it would change. Like I could will it into being fake. Spoiler, it didn't change. It was real. And so was the betrayal. But I still hadn't confronted her. I wanted to see who this guy was. And I got my chance the following week. She said she was going out with Sophie from work. I waited until she left, then grabbed my keys, got in my car, and followed her. I know, I sound like a stalker. But when your gut is screaming and your world is cracking, you do things you never thought you would. She drove to that same house, the one I saw on Find My iPhone before. Parked. Walked in. I waited. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Then I saw him. This guy walks out to get something from his car. Tall, mid-30s, beard, wearing a hoodie and pajama pants. Comfortable. Like this was normal. Like this was home. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't some fling. This was routine. I snapped. I got out of the car, stormed up to the driveway, and started yelling. I didn't even know what I was saying. Just a string of "Where the FK is Rachel?" and "Are you the guy she's fing?" He looked stunned. Kept backing up. Said, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about." I told him I was her husband. "Husband, bro?" He went pale. I don't know if he knew she was married or not. At that point I didn't care. I just turned and left. Went home. Sat on the couch in silence until she came back. That's part 2. Part 3 is the confrontation, the real one. The moment she realized I knew everything. It wasn't pretty. Part 3:15, just tell me the truth. Spoiler, she didn't. So after I caught her red-handed at that guy's house, I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just sat on the couch in the dark, waiting like some ghost haunting my own living room. My heart was pounding like it was trying to punch through my ribs. Every hour that passed, I thought about leaving, but no, I needed to look her in the eyes. Around 1:15 a.m., the door finally opened. Rachel tiptoed in like a teenager sneaking past curfew. She didn't see me right away, but when she did, she froze. We locked eyes and I saw her mouth open slightly in shock. She hadn't expected me to be up. "Hey, you scared me," she said, fake laughing. "What are you doing in the dark?" I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her. She was still wearing makeup, hair a little messy, perfume heavy like she sprayed it on right before walking in. Guilt practically dripping from her. I asked, very calmly, "Where were you tonight?" She blinked. "I told you, with Sophie." Liar. "Sophie, huh? Want to try again?" I asked. Her smile twitched. "What are you talking about?" So I hit her with it. "You were at a guy's house. I saw you go in." I saw him. I confronted him. "Don't lie." The color drained from her face like someone pulled the plug. Silence. Then came the flood of bullshit. "Wait, it's not what you think, he's just a friend. I went there to talk. I didn't want to upset you, we've been distant lately and I cut her off. "Rachel, I know you've been sleeping with him. I know about the hotel. I saw the receipt. I know you've been lying for months." Boom. That was the moment it all crumbled. She sat down, didn't even try to deny it anymore. Just went quiet. Like a kid caught cheating on a test. Then finally she said it. "Okay. Yes. I've been seeing someone." It was like the words knocked the wind out of me. Even though I knew, hearing her say it felt like someone poured ice water through my veins. I asked her why. Over and over. "Why him? Why lie? Why didn't you just tell me?" She shrugged. King shrugged. Like it was nothing. "I don't know, it just happened. You've been so busy with work and I felt alone, and he listens to me and makes me feel seen. I think that's the part that stung the most. Not the cheating, though that gutted me, but the fact that she made me out to be the reason she did it. I said, I've been working to keep us afloat, Rachel. To give us the life we talked about. You think I liked being exhausted all the time? I did it for us. While you were out playing house with some guy whose name you won't even say to my face. She started crying. Real tears. Ugly ones. And I'll admit, for a tiny second, I felt sorry for her. But then I remembered every time she'd kissed me and said, I love you, while coming home from him. Every time she let me make her dinner, every little lie that slipped so easily off her tongue. So no sympathy. She begged me not to do anything rash. Said we should go to counseling. That we could work through it. I asked, how long has it been going on? She hesitated, then whispered, about 6 months. 6 months. 6 months of lies. Of pretending. Of gaslighting me every time I questioned something. She even let me plan our anniversary dinner while she was **ing another man. I asked her if she loved him. She didn't answer. Just cried harder. That silence told me everything. I told her I needed space. That she should go stay somewhere else. She refused. Said she wanted to work things out, that she still loved me, that it was a mistake. So I said, cool. Then pack a bag and go make your mistake your new roommate. She didn't leave that night. Slept on the couch. I locked the bedroom door. I didn't sleep anyway. Part April 15th, the fallout when your whole life feels like a lie. The morning after the confrontation felt like I woke up in someone else's life. I remember lying in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. You ever feel like your brain's buffering? That was me. There were too many thoughts fighting for attention. I kept thinking, how did we get here? Just a week ago, I was thinking about where we should go for our anniversary trip. Now I was thinking about lawyers. I didn't go to work. I called in sick, which is something I never do. My boss was surprised. I'm the dependable guy. The guy who shows up no matter what. But that day, I just didn't have it in me. Rachel had already left when I woke up. No note. No text. Just gone. I stood in the kitchen for a while, looking at her coffee mug on the counter. Same mug she used every day. Boss Babe in pink letters. Now it just looked like a joke. Like a prop in the play I'd been unknowingly cast in as the idiot husband. I went through every stage of grief in rapid-fire mode that day. Anger, sadness, confusion, repeat. I'd be pacing around one moment, muttering, how could she do this, then curled up on the couch the next, staring blankly at nothing. At some point, I checked her drawer in the bathroom. It was still full, makeup, hair ties, her perfume. A bottle I'd bought her for her birthday. It hit me how quickly everything had shifted from familiar to unbearable. I opened our shared photo album on my phone and just started scrolling. God, the memories. Us in Mexico, hiking in the Rockies, building IKEA furniture, and fighting over the instructions. All of it looked fake now. Like I'd been smiling next to a stranger. By afternoon, my phone buzzed. Rachel, can we talk tonight? Please. I didn't answer. She sent more throughout the day. Guilt-laced apologies. Rambling attempts to explain. It was like watching someone try to put out a house fire with a cup of water. At 7:34 p.m. she came home. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, still in the same hoodie from last night. She looked like hell. Puffy eyes. Pale. No makeup. She asked if we could talk. I let her sit. Not because I wanted to hear what she had to say, but because I needed to see her squirm. I needed to hear her admit it out loud again. And she did. She confessed to everything. The hotel nights. The house visits. She said they met through work and just clicked. She said he didn't know she was married at first, bullshit, but didn't care when he found out, figures. Then she said something that almost made me laugh out loud. I never meant for it to go this far. Oh? So just the lies, sneaking around, screwing another man for 6 months, that was just dipping a toe in? I told her she was selfish. That what she did wasn't a mistake, it was a series of choices. Repeated, deliberate, cruel choices. She cheated on me emotionally, physically, and mentally. And then lied every single day to my face. She cried. Again. She always had a talent for crying on cue. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just stood up and said, you broke something that can't be fixed. I hope he was worth it. And then I left. I went to my brother's place. He lives about 30 minutes away. I didn't tell him the whole story yet, just said I needed a place to crash. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and said, stay as long as you need. That night, lying on a different couch in a different house, I realized something. I wasn't just grieving the betrayal, I was grieving the version of her I thought I knew. The Rachel who laughed at my dumb jokes. The Rachel who'd sneak up behind me and hug me while I cooked. The Rachel who once cried during a rom-com because the couple reminded her of us. She never existed. Or if she did, she died somewhere along the way and no one told me. That's the part that gutted me. I didn't cry that night. I felt too empty to cry. Like my soul had checked out. Part 5 is where I try to put the pieces together. I dig deeper, start asking around, and find out some really disturbing things about her past and this guy. You're not gonna want to miss that one. Let me know when you're ready. Part May 15th, the truth has layers and they all rot. So I was crashing at my brother's place, trying to keep it together. He could tell something was wrong, but didn't push. We've always had that kind of unspoken rule: ask when you're ready, not when you're raw. A few days passed. I didn't contact Rachel. She kept texting me, of course. One message even said, "I miss us. Please let's not throw everything away." Cute. After throwing me away for half a year, now she suddenly remembered us. Anyway, one morning I finally told my brother the truth. Sat him down and just unloaded everything, word vomit style. From the first red flag to the confrontation to the hotel receipt. He sat there with his jaw clenched the whole time, muttering Jesus every few minutes. Then he said something that hit hard. Bro. I never wanted to say this before, but she always gave me a weird vibe. Like, too perfect. Too polished. I never fully bought the act. That stung. Because I did buy it. Hell, I paid full price, no returns. After that I started talking to more people, friends, mutual acquaintances. Just fishing. Trying to make sense of what else I didn't know. And man, what I found out blew the lid off everything. Turns out Rachel had a bit of a history. One of her old coworkers, let's call her Sam, reached out to me after she saw I deleted Rachel from all social media. Yep, I went full scorched earth. She said she didn't want to pry but had a feeling something happened, and if it was what she thought, I should know Rachel had a pattern. We hopped on a call. Sam told me that back when they worked together, Rachel had been caught flirting with their married boss. Apparently, it got so messy HR had to step in. Nothing official was filed, but Rachel suddenly transferred to another department and it all got swept under the rug. That was 2 years before I met her. And she never mentioned it. Not once. Sam said Rachel always knew how to say the right thing, how to play people, and most importantly, how to cover her tracks. She was charming, flirty, and could make anyone believe she was this pure, loyal, misunderstood angel. Sound familiar? But that wasn't even the worst part. I dug into the guy she'd been seeing. Remember the guy from the house? The one I almost fought in a driveway? I got his name, Eli, and through mutuals on social media, found out he wasn't single. Nope. He had a girlfriend. A live-in girlfriend of 3 years. I found her Instagram. Posts with him as recently as 2 weeks ago. Cuddled up on the couch, smiling like everything was fine. So guess what I did? I messaged her. Told her everything. Look, I know some people say stay out of it, but I couldn't. I wouldn't want to be kept in the dark if the roles were reversed. I wasn't mean, just factual. Sent her screenshots, dates, even a picture of that hotel receipt. She replied a few hours later. Thank you. I had no idea. I don't even know what to say. We talked a bit more. Turns out Rachel wasn't just his side chick. He told her he was single. Lied to both of us. Classic dirtbag move. But also, what does that say about her? That she never even checked? Or worse, that she didn't care. It was like discovering another layer of betrayal. She wasn't just cheating on me with a guy, she was actively participating in someone else's betrayal too. Honestly, I felt sick. Not just because of what she did, but because of who I'd been in love with all these years. I thought I married someone decent. Turns out I married someone who could look in the mirror after helping another woman's partner sneak around behind her back. I know it sounds dramatic, but I swear I started feeling like my memories were fake. Like the past 6 years had been a Truman Show episode and everyone forgot to let me in on the script. I needed clarity. Closure. Something. So I did what any sane, heartbroken man would do. I called a lawyer. That's part 5. In part 6, I'll talk about the legal steps, her reaction when she found out I was serious about divorce, and the absolutely pathetic stunt she pulled to win me back. It's wild. Part June 15th, you can't be serious. Oh, I was. After finding out everything, her cheating, her history, the fact that the guy she was sleeping with had a girlfriend, I knew I was done. There was no going back from this. I didn't want therapy, I didn't want rebuilding trust, I didn't want to hear another damn apology. I wanted out. So, I called a divorce attorney. First consultation was free. I explained the situation in full and she, the lawyer, listened like someone who'd heard this story 1,000 times. When I told her Rachel cheated and I had some proof, she said something that stuck with me. Infidelity doesn't always give you leverage in court, but it does tell us what kind of person we're dealing with. Damn right it does. We went over assets, finances, everything. Luckily, we didn't have kids, thank God, and the house was technically mine, bought it 2 years before marriage, and I never added her to the deed. Her name was on some stuff, but overall, I was in a decent position. We had a shared savings account, though, and a joint credit card. Guess who racked up about $4,800 in charges over the last few months? Rachel. Spa days, expensive dinners, random hotel stays. I don't even need to tell you how that made me feel. The next day, I served her. Not in some dramatic restaurant scene or anything. Just a quiet process server who handed her a folder while she was leaving work. She texted me. Rachel, what the hell is this? Me, it's what happens when you burn down a marriage. Cue the waterworks. She called me 12 times in a row. I didn't pick up. Then came the emails, long, dramatic essays about how she got lost, how she never stopped loving me, how she hated herself for hurting me. I could practically hear her voice in every word, crying and trying to sound poetic. Too late, sweetheart. Way too late. But wait, she wasn't done. Because what she did next was downright embarrassing. The day after the papers landed, she showed up at my brother's house. Yep. Just walked right up like this was a romantic comedy and she was here for the big forgive me scene. My brother opened the door, saw her standing there with tears in her eyes, and immediately said, nope, and called for me. I stepped out and asked, what do you want? She launched into the performance of her life. Said she'd been confused, that she realized now what a mistake she'd made, that she didn't even like Eli anymore, LOL, and that she'd do anything to make things right. I said, funny, because 6 months ago you were doing everything to destroy it. She grabbed my arm. Tried to pull me into a hug. I stepped back. That's when the switch flipped. You ever seen someone go from crying to furious in 3 seconds flat? She did that. Suddenly, I was the problem. I was cold. I was unwilling to forgive. She said, so what, you're just gonna throw away 6 years over one mistake? I laughed in her face. One mistake? Rachel, you made that mistake over and over again for half a year. You didn't trip and fall into his bed. You packed a damn overnight bag. She left screaming that I was a bitter little man who would die alone. Cool. I'll take peace and quiet over betrayal any day. I went back inside. My brother handed me a beer and said she really pulled the rom-com ending, huh? We both laughed. Hard. Here's the kicker, 3 days later, Eli's girlfriend messaged me again. Turns out she kicked him out. Apparently, he begged to stay and said Rachel meant nothing. Classic. So now both cheaters were single. Or, who knows, maybe they're back together. If so, good. Let them lie to each other for a change. Part July 15th, healing looks nothing like I thought it would. I wish I could tell you that the day after she left my brother's porch screaming like a banshee was the day everything got better. It wasn't. The next week was brutal. Even though I knew I was doing the right thing, my brain kept looping through everything. I'd be washing dishes and suddenly I'd remember her laugh. I'd be driving and picture her walking out of that guy's house. It was like mental torture, except the torturer was me. Grief after betrayal is weird. It doesn't move in straight lines. 1 minute you're angry and fired up like, screw her, I deserve better. Next minute you're on the floor of your shower like, what if I just done something different? But here's the thing, I let myself feel everything. I didn't bottle it up. I journaled. I walked. I cried like hell some nights. I even punched a pillow so hard I think it flinched the next day. I stopped checking her socials. Unfollowed, blocked. Not out of spite, but for survival. Every time I saw her name, it opened the wound again. I kept going to work, but I was a shell. I was quiet, didn't join in on office banter. My boss pulled me aside one day and said, whatever you're dealing with, I see it. Take the time you need. I appreciated that more than I can say. And then, about 3 weeks in, I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about her first thing in the morning. That was the first tiny crack of light. The next breakthrough? I deleted every single photo of her off my phone. Not out of hate, but to make room for myself. My healing. My future. I started eating better. Actually started working out again. My brother and I got into this routine, early gym, then crappy diner breakfast on Saturdays. It was dumb but wholesome. Gave me something to look forward to. One night, he handed me a glass of whiskey and said, you're laughing again. I missed that sound. That hit me harder than I expected. Around the same time, I started therapy. Just 1 session a week. I needed someone who wasn't a friend, wasn't family. Just a neutral voice to help me untangle the wreckage. She, my therapist, asked me this question that kind of rewired my brain. Do you miss her, or do you miss who you thought she was? That sat with me for days. Because the truth? I missed the idea of her. Not the real version. Not the liar who betrayed me. I missed the woman I thought she was, the one who loved me, respected me, built a future with me. But that woman never existed. And that realization hurt less than I expected. About a month after serving the papers, I actually slept through the night. No dreams, no waking up in a sweat. Just rest. Real rest. I woke up and felt like a human being again. I even started noticing other people. Not romantically, not yet, but just recognizing beauty again. Noticing the world. The barista with the kind smile. The couple walking their dog and laughing. The music in the background at the grocery store. Life was returning. That's part 7. In part 8, I'll talk about what it was like seeing her again unexpectedly. Because of course, she wasn't done trying to insert herself back into my life. And oh boy, did she come with a new round of lies. Let me know when you're ready. Part August 15th, the unexpected encounter and the queen of manipulation. It had been about 6 weeks since I served her the divorce papers. Things were finally stable. Not good yet, not happy, but stable. I wasn't crying in the shower anymore, and I could actually laugh at memes again. Progress. So naturally, the universe said, let's F***K that up. It was a Thursday. Random as hell. I'd just gotten out of therapy, grabbed myself a burrito, and was sitting in my car outside a bookstore eating it like the emotionally recovering man I was. That's when I heard a knock on my window. I jumped, nearly dropped my food. Guess who? Rachel. She looked rough. Pale, tired, hair pulled back like she hadn't even tried. But the same manipulative sparkle in her eyes was still there. The sparkle that said, I think I can still reel him back in. I cracked the window an inch. What do you want? She gave the sad little smile. I was just walking by and saw your car. Can we talk? I said no. We don't have anything left to talk about. She stepped back and literally said, can we not do this here? Like I was the one causing a scene. I sighed. I didn't want to make a public spectacle, so I agreed to 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the parking lot. I stepped out of the car, leaned against the hood, arms crossed. No friendliness. No warmth. She didn't deserve any. And that's when she launched into her next performance. She told me she'd started therapy. Said she'd cut things off with Eli again, that she was going to church, that she was reconnecting with who she really is. She looked at me with this trembling voice and said, you know me better than anyone. You know I'm not this person. I just laughed. Actually laughed. No, Rachel. I thought I knew you. Turns out I didn't know you at all. She tried to touch my arm. I stepped away. Then came the next act, tears. The classic. Right on cue. I miss you so much, she said, voice breaking. I miss us. I miss coming home to you. I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I looked her dead in the eye and said, no, Rachel. The biggest mistake of your life wasn't cheating. It was thinking I'd ever take you back. Silence. She stared at me for a moment. Then the tears stopped, just like that. Like someone flipped a switch. You've changed, she said coldly. I replied, no. You just never expected me to grow a spine. That's when she got angry again. She said things like, you're being cruel and you're not even giving me a chance to make it right. I said, you had months of chances. And you spent them in someone else's bed. Then she dropped the bomb. Well, I think you should know Eli wants nothing to do with me now. He went back to his ex. So, congrats. Ah. So that's why she came crawling. Not because she realized how much she loved me, but because her side piece kicked her to the curb and she had no backup plan. I gave a slow nod. Now I get it. This isn't about love. It's about loneliness. You thought I'd be your safety net. Sorry. Net's gone. She stormed off. No goodbye. Just angry stomps and muttered curses. I got back in my car, finished my lukewarm burrito, and let out this massive sigh of relief. It was over. For real this time. No more wondering, no more guilt, no more what-ifs. I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad. I was just done. That night, I slept like a baby. Part 9/15. The Purge. Out with her, in with me. After that parking lot ambush, I made a promise to myself. I'm done being haunted by a ghost that's still alive. She was out of my life, but traces of her were still everywhere. In the house. In the closet. In the drawer full of takeout menus we used to argue over. So, I did what any self-respecting man on a healing arc would do. Purged. First stop. The bedroom. That space had become toxic. The bed we once shared felt like a crime scene. Every time I lay down, I could practically hear the echoes of her lies bouncing off the damn walls. I stripped the bed, threw out the pillows, sheets, duvet cover. All of it. Donated what I could. Tossed the rest. Bought new bedding that was actually mine. Deep navy sheets. Firm pillows. Clean, simple comforter. Nothing fancy, just mine. Then I painted the walls. She had picked this weird gray-blue calming color. I hated it. Always did. So I blasted some old-school rock, opened the windows, and painted the whole damn room in a warm off-white. Felt like oxygen. Her stuff? Packed up in boxes. All of it. Clothes, jewelry, random decorative crap, she insisted. Made the house feel like a home. I dropped the boxes off at her sister's place. Texted her afterward. Your things are at Jenna's. Please don't contact me again unless it's through a lawyer. She replied, okay. I'm sorry again. I didn't answer. I even tackled the small stuff, mugs she bought, picture frames, that one hideous candle holder shaped like a dog's face she loved. It all went. The weirdest moment? Finding her old toothbrush in the bathroom drawer. That thing had been sitting there like a landmine. I stared at it for a good 5 minutes before tossing it in the trash. Closure in the form of plastic bristles. Now here's where the real shift happened. I booked a solo trip. Nothing crazy, just a long weekend in a cabin up north. Mountains, quiet, no cell signal, just me and a stack of books. I hadn't traveled alone since college. The idea of being by myself used to scare me. But now, it sounded like peace. And it was. I hiked. I read. I cooked myself stupidly elaborate meals just because I could. I sat outside with a beer and watched the stars. No drama. No lies. Just silence and self-respect. One night while I was there, I wrote in my journal. I don't miss her. I miss who I was with her. But now I get to be that person again, without the lies. Coming back from that trip, something had shifted. I didn't feel like a broken man anymore. I felt like a man in progress. People started noticing too. My coworkers said I looked lighter. My mom told me I sounded brighter. Even my barber said, "You finally got that divorce glow, huh?" Damn right I did. Part October 15th, the unsent letter. I read somewhere that writing a letter to someone who hurt you, even if you never send it, is one of the best ways to heal. At first, I thought it was cheesy. But after the emotional roller coaster of the last couple of months, I figured why not? Worst case, it wastes a few pages. Best case, it frees something in me. So I wrote one. I sat at my desk with a whiskey, some quiet music in the background, and just started typing. No filter. No editing. No politeness. Just truth. Here's what it said. Dear Rachel, you don't deserve a letter, but I deserve the peace that comes from writing one. So here it is. I want you to understand something clearly. What you did didn't just break a promise. It broke a person. It broke a future. It broke a man who once believed you were the best thing to ever happen to him. I believed in us. I believed every "I love you," every "just 5 more minutes at work," every fake smile you gave me after coming home from being with him. And you know what hurts the most? That I still tried. Even when the signs were there, even when the lies were stacking up like corpses, I still gave you the benefit of the doubt. Because that's what you do for the people you love. But you made a choice. And not once. Not twice. You made the choice again and again. Every time you texted him, every time you slipped out for drinks, every time you kissed me goodnight after being in someone else's bed. You didn't just cheat on me. You humiliated me. You made me question myself. Was I not good enough? Not exciting enough? Not strong enough? Was I boring? Too focused on work? Too emotionally available? I went through every self-blaming possibility while you were off playing house with someone who didn't even respect you enough to stay. But here's the thing. I forgive you. Not for your sake. Not because you deserve it. But because I do. I refuse to carry your betrayal into my future. I refuse to let the poison you left behind dictate how I love, how I trust, how I live. I hope one day you understand the depth of what you destroyed. Not because I want you to suffer, because I want you to grow. Because I want no one else to go through what I did. And for the record, I don't hate you. I don't miss you. I don't want you back. I pity you. Because I'm healing. I'm rebuilding. I'm living a life of truth. And you? You're still playing dress up with whatever mask fits the moment. Good luck with that. Part November 15th, entering the world again and learning to walk without limping. I didn't rush back into the world. That whole single and ready to mingle energy? Yeah, I didn't have that. What I had was more like single and trying not to flinch when someone mentions trust. But after burning that letter, something shifted. I felt lighter. Like I finally cut the last string tying me to her. The ghost of Rachel stopped showing up in my dreams, and for the first time in a while, I wasn't just surviving, I was curious. Curious about what life could look like now. I started saying yes to things again. My brother dragged me to a game night with some friends. I almost bailed last minute, but he promised there'd be beer and no relationship talk. True to his word, we played stupid trivia, laughed about how bad we were at charades, and for a few hours I felt normal. Not the guy with the cheating ex-wife. Just a guy. That night, someone asked me, "So what do you do?" I said, "IT work, mostly data recovery." They nodded and moved on. No pity. No sad looks. No, "Oh man, sorry about what happened." It felt freeing. A week later, a friend of a friend invited me to a small barbecue. Normally, I'd have made an excuse, but I said yes. It was the first time I'd stood in a backyard surrounded by people I didn't know in a long time. And here's the part one didn't expect. There was a woman there. No, this isn't where I say, and then I met the love of my life. Chill. But she was kind. She made a joke about me dropping a hot dog on the ground, and we talked for like an hour about books, dogs, the worst movies we secretly love. No flirting. No pressure. Just a connection. I didn't ask for her number. I wasn't ready. But I left that barbecue with something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Hope that not every connection ends in betrayal. Hope that I'm not broken. Hope that one day I'll actually want someone again, not because I need to fill a void, but because I've already healed the wound. I started doing more by myself. I went to a movie solo. Yes, I bought popcorn and everything. Yes, it was a superhero movie. No, I don't regret it. I started reading again. Got back into cooking real food, not just frozen crab. Even signed up for a weekly trivia night at a local bar. Small things, but they felt like reclaiming pieces of me she had buried under years of manipulation. People started asking if I was seeing someone. I'd say not yet, but maybe someday. And I meant it. That's the magic of healing. It's slow, boring, sometimes ugly, but one day you wake up and realize you're no longer looking backward. You're facing forward even if you're still figuring out the map. That's part 11. In part 12, something unexpected happens. Rachel tries one more time to reach out. But this time, I handle it completely differently than before. Let me know when you're ready. Part December 15th, the last attempt, and the man she didn't recognize anymore. It had been about 3 months since the last time I saw Rachel. Things were good, not perfect, not storybook, but good. I had peace. I had space. I had my own damn bed that didn't whisper betrayal when I laid in it. Then she reached out again. Of course she did. It started with an email. Subject line: "Can we please talk?" I stared at it for a good 5 minutes. Didn't open it. Didn't need to. I already knew what it would say. But part of me, some stubborn part, was curious. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted her back. But because I wanted to see if she'd changed, even a little. Spoiler, she hadn't. The email was exactly what you'd expect. A perfect cocktail of guilt-tripping, vague apologies, and just enough emotional bait to make it seem like she was the victim too. Phrases like, "I've been doing so much work on myself. I still believe in us. I think about what we had every day. I don't know how to move on without closure." That last one made me laugh. Closure? She didn't want closure, she wanted a backdoor. I almost deleted it. Almost. But then I did something different. I replied, "Yeah, I know. Risky. But this time I wasn't writing from a place of pain or desperation. I was writing from a place of peace. Of control. Of clarity. Here's what I wrote. Rachel? I got your email. I'm glad to hear you're working on yourself. I genuinely hope it's true. But I don't owe you anything, not closure, not conversation, not a second of my peace. I gave you years of love, loyalty, and partnership. And in return, you gave me lies, betrayal, and half-hearted apologies. So no, we can't talk. Because there's nothing left to say. I've moved on. And you should too. Take care of yourself. Me. Short. Final. Clean. She didn't reply. And for once, I wasn't sitting by the phone wondering if she would. I just shut my laptop and went back to making dinner. Chicken stir-fry, if you're wondering. And here's the wild part, when I went to bed that night, I felt nothing. No sadness. No anger. No anxiety. Just calm. Like I'd finally passed the last test and could walk out of the class early. That was the moment I knew I'd won. Not because I'd gotten over her faster or crafted some clever response, but because she no longer had power over me. She wasn't a monster anymore. She was just a mistake I survived. Part 13/15, Rediscovery. The version of me I almost forgot. After shutting the final door on Rachel, something weird happened. I felt excited. Not like, woo-hoo, I'm free, party excited. More like, what else have I been missing while stuck in survival mode? Kind of excited. Like walking out of a dusty attic and realizing the world outside is full of color again. So I leaned in. I started doing things I used to love before the relationship. Things I had put on the shelf because they weren't her thing or didn't fit around her schedule. I dusted off my guitar. I hadn't touched it in years. Literally had to retune the thing twice before it stopped sounding like a dying walrus. But the moment I strummed a few chords, I felt something in my chest loosen. Music was mine again. I started drawing again too. Not for money or Instagram, just for me. Doodles, sketches, full-blown chaotic art dumps on the back of receipts. It reminded me of who I was before I was constantly trying to fix someone else's mess. Even weekends changed. I used to spend them cleaning up after Rachel's messes. Both literal and emotional. Now, I hit farmers markets, took random day trips, found this tiny used bookstore that smelled like coffee and old pages, and it became my new temple. Bought a used copy of The Alchemist, reread it, and cried at a line I'd never noticed before. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Yeah, it's cheesy, but when you're recovering from being cheated on, cheesy wisdom slaps. And then, yeah, okay, I went on a date. It wasn't planned. It wasn't some download every app and swipe through the pain situation. It was actually someone I met at that trivia night I mentioned earlier. Her name was Tessa. She laughed at my dumb answers, had a sharp wit, and talked about her dog like he was her actual child. She asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I froze for half a second. That old voice kicked in, like, are you ready? What if you're not enough? What if this breaks too? But I said yes. We got coffee, talked for 2 hours. Didn't even realize time was passing. She was easy to be around, no games, no masks. When she asked about my past, I was honest. I told her I was divorced. I didn't go into the drama. Just said I was figuring myself out again. She smiled and said, aren't we all? It wasn't love. It wasn't fate. But it was nice. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt safe around someone new. I don't know where that'll go, and I'm not rushing it. I'm not looking to replace Rachel or fast track to something serious. I'm just enjoying being in a space where I'm allowed to breathe. More importantly, I like who I am now. Stronger, wiser, softer in a weird way. I trust myself more. I know my boundaries. I know my worth. And I don't need someone else to validate that anymore. That's part 13. Part 14 is where I reflect on everything. The mistakes, the lessons, the version of me that walked into that relationship, and the version walking away. Let me know when you're ready. We're almost at the finish line. Part 14/15, Reflection, Who I Was, Who I Am, and Who I'm Becoming. I've gone back and read some of the first entries I wrote here. The anger, the pain, the shock, the absolute disbelief that the person I trusted the most could be the one who did the most damage. It's surreal. I barely recognized that version of myself. Not because he was weak, but because he was trying so hard to hold something together that was already on fire. Let me be honest with you. I wasn't perfect in that marriage. I worked too much. I didn't always communicate well. I probably missed signs long before I ever noticed a red flag. But none of that justified what she did. Betrayal isn't a response. It's a decision. A pattern. A choice made over and over with full awareness. And now, standing on the other side of all that mess, I've learned a few things. 1. You can't save a relationship alone. I tried. God knows I did. I was constantly putting in the work, making plans, staying patient, forgiving small things that didn't feel right just to keep peace. But love doesn't mean bleeding yourself dry to fill someone else's cup. 2. If someone lies easily, they'll betray easily. This one's harsh but real. The little lies matter. The vague girl's night that didn't add up. The deleted texts. The half answers. I wanted so badly to believe the best in her that I ignored the worst. 3. Peace is the ultimate flex. There's nothing more powerful than not reacting. Not needing to scream or seek revenge or make dramatic speeches. Just walking away calmly with your self-worth intact? That's power. 4. Healing isn't linear. There were days I felt amazing and then broke down the next morning. I learned to let those waves come and go. You can cry and be strong. You can mourn and move forward. They're not opposites, they're necessary partners. 5. Forgiveness is for you, not them. I forgave her, not to fix things, not to open a door, but to close one. I didn't want her taking up any more space in my life, even mentally. Forgiveness was the key to my freedom. And here's the biggest one. 6. You're not broken forever. In the beginning, it felt like I'd never recover. Like I'd be bitter, angry, and hollow for the rest of my life. But here I am smiling again. Loving my own company. Enjoying little things. Meeting new people. Feeling like me again. Not the pre-marriage me. Not the married and trying to survive me. The new me. The one forged in fire. The one who walked through hell and came out not only alive, but awake. I used to think being cheated on would define me. That I'd be that guy forever. But now? It's just a chapter. A brutal one, sure. But it's not the whole book. And trust me, the next chapter looks damn good. That's part 14. Part 15, the final entry, is where I give my parting words. Advice for anyone going through this right now. That if I could go back and talk to myself on day one kind of stuff. Let me know when you're ready for the final piece. Part 15:15. To anyone going through it right now, read this. If you've made it this far, first of all, thank you. Writing this series started as a personal purge. A way to dump the chaos in my head, somewhere other than my pillow at night. But it became something bigger. A mirror, a record, maybe even a roadmap for someone else stuck in the same emotional hell I was in a few months ago. So if you're there right now, if you've just found out they've been lying, if you're crying at 2 a.m. in a room that suddenly feels cold and unfamiliar, if your chest feels like it's caving in, this part is for you. Because I've been there. And here's what I wish someone had told me. Broken heart, you are not weak for loving them. Loving someone with your whole heart, even if they turned out to be a monster in disguise, is not a flaw. It means you're capable of depth, of loyalty, of real connection. That's a strength. They're the weak one for taking that love and throwing it away. Brain, trust your gut. Even when your heart screams, wait. That little voice inside you, the one whispering something's off, listen to it. Don't explain it away. Don't gaslight yourself. That voice is trying to protect you. Stop sign boundaries are not cruelty. You are not a bad person for blocking them, for cutting off contact, for walking away without offering them comfort after they hurt you. You do not owe your abuser closure. Brick healing is not pretty, but it's worth it. You'll cry over dumb things. You'll miss them when you know you shouldn't. You'll doubt yourself. You'll feel empty. But every day you survive without them is a brick in the wall between you and the version of you that accepted less than you deserved. Sun behind small cloud, you will feel joy again. Sounds fake now, I know. But you will smile again. Not just polite smiles. Real ones. Ones that reach your eyes. You'll laugh so hard your ribs hurt. You'll listen to music without associating it with their face. You'll flirt. You'll grow. You'll live. Flex biceps, you're not just surviving. You're becoming. This isn't the end of your story. This is a rebirth. You're being stripped down to your core. And yeah, it hurts like hell, but you're being rebuilt stronger, wiser, clearer. The version of you that's coming next, they don't take crap. They know their worth. And they're going to thrive. If you're still in that place where it all feels dark, please hold on. Even if it's just minute by minute, you're not alone. There's a whole army of us who've made it through and are waiting to welcome you on the other side. You've got this. And me? I'm doing just fine now. Better than fine. I'm finally free. A guy who once trusted too easily, but now knows his worth. That's the end of the story. If you ever need to talk, vent, or scream into the void, I'm here. And if you're healing from something like this, I see you. Keep going. You're closer than you think.